gonna just get right into it. This is like my first video, so I want to share with you guys this sketchbook that I made. Started it and finished it in the summer of 2024. And I'm not only going to share the content in here because honestly, there's not a lot. It's not like a very aesthetically pleasing sketchbook. I wouldn't say it's completed. This is not something that I could publish and sell, for example. But to me, I think there are some important things to talk about within this sketchbook. On this channel, I want to talk about my art and life and talk about things like philosophy, spirituality, and share my journey in this life with other people and with my friends, and what I've been learning, what I've been going through, and just connect with others. A little background information: I've been living in Spain for the past year. I moved here right after I completed, or right as I was completing this, and I've been here for a year, and it's been a wild ride. It's been a really crazy journey. It's been very beautiful. It's been very difficult. I left my country, I left my friends, I left my family for the time being, and I've been living here. So I think this is a good way to share what I've been going through and what I've been experiencing and living with my loved ones and whoever might be watching this. So when I started this sketchbook, it was the summer of 2024, so last year, and I started this right after graduating from art school, which was a crazy transition, and I had no clue what I was about to get into and what I was about to experience. So I studied for 5 years. I studied during the pandemic. Once I graduated, I was burnt out, I was exhausted, and I was brainwashed by art school. It was a great experience, but there's a lot of things that I'm currently working on unlearning from that time. So that summer, I moved back home with my parents, and I wanted to keep making, but I was just honestly so burnt out. I didn't have the time, energy, or resources to continue working on a big project, and I couldn't really build a lot of momentum either when it comes to exhibiting or applying to shows and things like that. It honestly wasn't a priority of mine because I had plans on moving to Spain. I got a job offer, or whatever it is, to move to Spain to work here, and that is where I'm currently living. And that whole summer was really dedicated to getting my visa secured because that whole process in itself is very time consuming and very challenging. And I also had the uncertainty of, what do I do now that I'm graduated? Like, what's the next step? I lost the structure that I had. So I really wanted to just focus on one thing, making sure that one thing was going to be okay. And that was my visa and moving to Spain. I worked on this while I was at home in my free time. And I think it's really interesting that the sketchbook, because I see a lot of ideas start to blossom, things that I've been developing further more recently, thoughts that I was having that I'm still, researching and developing. And yeah, I think there's a lot of good stuff in this book. The one thing I want to touch on is a book that I had read my senior year of college. It was mandatory for our senior seminar class, where we basically start preparing for our final exhibition, our final thesis. And it's a book called Art and Fear, okay, by David Bales and Ted Orland. It touches on various topics related to being an artist and sustaining a creative practice. But one thing that really stuck with me after reading this book was one section, um, where it explains that it kind of prepares one, or enlightens one about the post grad experience and what happens after art school. They use the term artistic death. So they said that people either stop making for a moment or there is complete artistic death. And that made me think. I didn't I understand that there are moments in our life where we have to put creating on hold, because in the hierarchy of needs and just how life is, it's not always going to be our first priority, nor are we going to have access to making. So I understand stopping for a moment, and I had become aware of that through various professores, professors, and professional artists, that there are moments when you just stop making, stop showing. And I understand that. But complete artistic death was something that I decided was not going to happen to me. I'm an artist at my core, and that's something I've become even more aware of after this whole past year in Spain. Is that yes, I'm more than an artist, but I am an artist. Like, I identify with that. That is who I am. That's how I see the world. I don't care how little I'm making. I don't care how small it is. I don't care how lazy it is. I'm never going to stop making. I can't. That will be the death of me. So, with that being said, I was like, I need to keep making, even if I'm crawling, even if I'm just barely scraping by. And even if I'm just putting pen to paper, that is something that, even if I'm just looking at art, like, I need to stay connected in some way, shape, or form. But I also had to recognize I need to rest. I'm exhausted. I'm drained. Um, I don't have anything else to pull from anymore because for me, my art reflects my life experiences. And if I'm not living, what there's nothing to inspire me to make art about. So post school was done. I moved back home with my parents. Like, I had no nothing to work with at this time. So what I did was I was like, I'm just gonna go back to working in a sketchbook. I always was doodling in a sketchbook throughout college. I love working in sketchbooks. It's very intimate. It's a very safe place to explore and play. And I bought this sketchbook from a local art store with the intention of just letting myself do whatever. This is kind of like a visual diary for me in that way. So, page number one, just get right into it. That last year, I started exploring with oil pastels and mastering that technique, or I should say practicing. I've yet to master it, but I really enjoy working with oil pastels and exploring what their potential is. I really love the texture, the color, the creaminess, the blendability. All of that really attracted me, and I wanted to keep exploring with that on a smaller scale, seeing what else I could do with them. I started making more intuitively. I still don't know how I define intuitive making or if I want to use that to describe my practice, but I started working more freely. I stopped really thinking about narrative art, having very symbolistic and preconceived ideas, if that makes sense, like planning ahead, doing multiple sketches, multiple drafts. I just started flowing with it. It became more of like a therapeutic practice almost, where I was just like, this is just purely for enjoyment and purely for the process. And whatever comes out at the end of it is just a result of me exploring and just enjoying the moment. But here I still see a lot of like shapes and compositions, textures, and things that I still use today that have a lot to do with my interest in things like science and biology and all of that. So it's really interesting looking back to see, oh, this is kind of like where I first planted the seed, or an idea first started to develop, if we're able to pinpoint where certain ideas develop. But with that being said, going into this page, this is my cat, Holly. Little backstory: she was my one of my first cats. I got her when I was like 11 years old, and she was really sick last summer. We didn't have much time left with her, so she really was my muse and my model. I was drawing her a lot, because I think change is an important aspect of my work, an important theme in my work. And since I knew that we wouldn't have much time with her, I just wanted to draw her and preserve her as much as possible through my artwork. And in this, I remember at the time when I was making this drawing that I really wanted it to be anatomically correct and perfect, we can say. And it looks really tense to me. And I think I was stuck in between this space of wanting to let go and wanting it to be perfect. And this is something I'll talk about in a different video, but it's really interesting that I remember this distinctly from this drawing. Okay, and then again, another page where I was just really letting go. It's clear in how crazy this weird rainbow eyeball thing is. Really messy, just letting loose, going crazy, and exploring without a single care in the world. But at the same time, also, I'm clearly very frustrated during this process. I see this as very tense and aggressive. drawing. So I have this page here. So, like I said, a lot of my work in the sketchbook and what I've been doing for the past year has just been very fluid, intuitive. Um, I don't really have an idea or a clear idea or message in this work. And I'm really have been really interested in Jungian psychology and certain art therapy techniques, and that's very evident and very influential in what I'm doing today. So on this piece is made with oil pastels, but I drew it on top of some sketches that I tried to make while I was at the Women Working with Clay Symposium. I worked as a studio assistant in June of this summer. It was like my first post grad professional, semi professional artistic experience. But I made these like tree feet things. And when I look at this, it reminds me of an artist that I want to share with you guys. His name is Wilfredo Lam, I think. And I think he's an Afro Caribbean artist, an Afro Cuban artist. And I think of his compositions a lot. He was an artist that I found on like Wiki Art years back, maybe in high school when I was first getting into like art research and art history. And I was really drawn to his kind of claustrophobic forest scenes that are kind of on a singular plane where there's not a lot of depth to them, but they're really crowded. There's a lot of movement, there's a lot of rhythm, shapes, color, and that kind of thing. So that's an artist I think who really got me into making and I felt connected with from early on. So I can kind of see his influence in this page. Okay, this page is just some doodles, basically, like very light outlining. And it says here, there's some text because I also like to write a lot. And when I sneezed, the air came on as if I had woken up the house. And I'll explain this a little bit. So, something I'm really attracted to and interested in is when two things kind of simultaneously happen. For example, if someone sneezes and a door closes at the same time, and it's like two very abrupt actions that happen at the same time, and it may just be a coincidence, but I'm really curious about what is a coincidence. Are coincidences even coincidences? I remember specifically in this example, I sneezed and the air came on at the exact same time. And it was just kind of like this jolt of energy happening in the house. So that's what that crazy quote comes from. And then here I have like this creature, this human-esque humanoid thing looking into a pile of dung and pulling out mushrooms. And then I also drew a cow because I was reading Food of the Gods. I did not finish it. It's by Terence McKenna, and I've always seen quotes by him. I'm aware of his ideas and his theories, but I've never really gone into his work like that. So I was reading Food of the Gods, but it's a very dense book. And like I said, I was just very burnt out post grad. However, his ideas are very fascinating, and I would love to finish this book at some point. But he talks about the evolution of human consciousness, human intelligence, and creativity, and the ritual use of um, hallucinogenic substances as a catalyst for our evolution. We were more connected to livestock, I guess, or our the animals we had domesticated. We were much closer with their excrement and things like that. We had access and we had more constant ritual use with these hallucinogenic substances, aka shrooms. We were just more in touch with the divine and our higher consciousness through the ritual use of these substances. Anyways, I won't elaborate. I didn't finish the book. Next page, I was drawing cups. I joined like a local university art studio that summer because I wanted to just keep practicing. I did not finish a single thing. I literally was just going to practice wheel throwing because that's what I had the least experience with. I was just going and practicing. It was also a 40-minute drive from my house, so I couldn't go with consistency really. And I was broke, so I could not be spending that gas money to go there and back every day. So yeah, I had some cup ideas. I was just thinking about ceramic still, but then I have another picture of my cat using charcoal. I really like the texture in this one. I think this one's pretty interesting. We have here another oil pastel piece. This was me looking out my window into the backyard. So I was doing a lot of life drawing still. I think that's important for practice, for technical practice, and improving your way of seeing. I think it's important to draw from life. And I was getting a little more expressive here. Kind of see it. I see myself letting go a little bit because I'm a perfectionist. I think academic training and technical expertise is important when it comes to being an artist. And then I have a figure study, and here I am measuring, girl. I am trying to be anatomically correct, and I was also practicing foreshortening in this one, but I was using like willow pencil or charcoal in my little sketchbook. I think there's a time and place for materials, and my understanding of charcoal, my approach to using charcoal is should not be confined to this little slick page. It has no grit, nothing. It's like almost plasticky and it's so tiny. But anyways, I was just trying to get some technical practice in. Let me stop. Let me stop. Love these pages. Love these pages. I have like a little strawberry inspired design on the left. Love the colors, love the texture, want to develop that further, maybe make bigger pieces using this technique. But this page right here, like, delicious. I love this page. Just like the composition, I started exploring with a credit card. Like, oh my God, it was life changing, honestly. Like, I don't use a lot of tools, I don't experiment with different materials and tools like that. So, this was crazy for me and really amazing, really life changing. I was just building up a ton of layers, scraping them off, making texture with the credit card, and I love how it came out. I need to keep working with that. And then, with that being said, going into this page, I tried to replicate this process, not only replicating it step by step, but I tried to expand it into 2 pages. And I'm not a fan of using 2 pages in a sketchbook. For me, it always comes out as a diptych rather than like a cohesive composition. So that made it kind of weird for me. And also, on top of that, I can't repeat things. Like, everything I make is just so different. It's like the moment is just the moment. And that's something I need to probably develop more for an artist statement. But yeah, I tried to replicate the process and it just wasn't the same. It just, I can't make I could probably make a derivative, but this was just too forced where I was like, oh, I'm gonna 1, 2, 3 do the same thing. That's not how that works for me. Another little diptych. I used black and I used more white in this one. I really like the duality here. I really like the cloudiness and kind of the atmospheric quality of the white, kind of all blended together, very dreamy. There's something there that I'm interested in. Okay, okay, let's get into this page. Okay, I'm getting into this now. This page here, I was exploring with this Sharpie pen that I was using last year. That was like my pen of choice. It's like a Sharpie gel pen. And I would say that materials matter. Some materials are easier to use than others. As an artist, I think if you are knowledgeable of what you're working with and you have technical ability, you can harness the power or take advantage of the inherent qualities of the material, whether that be good or bad, right? And how you use them is important. So this Sharpie gel pen, I would describe it as like a wild horse. It is not like these little I love these Bic pens. They're very tame. They do whatever you want them to do, and there's many different ways to manipulate the tool. But these Sharpie gel pens are very liquidy, very inky, and they're very hard to control. So that was a fun challenge, fun thing to work with, and it has qualities that this big pen doesn't have, for example. But yeah, I really enjoyed playing with that, doing a lot of cross hatching, getting more into like different drawing techniques, different shading techniques. And then I have this portrait of an old man, and I was really into old men faces because I was taking a woodshop class that summer as well at the same university art studio, and I was like the youngest. I was not the only woman, but I was the youngest person there, and it was mostly old retired men, like who just wanted studio access, so they were taking this class and they all like knew what they were doing already. They all had like there's like one guy in this class, I think his name was Joe, but he had this like thick mustache, a big old man nose, and he was very sweet man. And then I have these drawings here, like woodland creatures and things like that, because at my parents' house, my mom feeds so many birds. She feeds raccoons, possum, deer, and obviously our cats often bring us a little something something, like a little bunny rabbit or a bird from time to time. So I was inspired by the woodland creatures, just this theme of home. Um, and that is a theme that hasn't been very prevalent in my work recently, just because I'm so distant from it now. And then I have measurements for this bookshelf that I made in my class, and I measured it incorrectly and I made it incorrectly. But I'm proud of my efforts. We won't talk about that much more. So, oh my God, this is like not the beginning of something, but the development of something, the evolution of an idea where I have these fluid, stringy lines and then I just kind of shade them and they're kind of just floating in darkness. They're floating in maybe like some sort of goo. It makes me think of like, honestly, it gives me the sensation of what it must feel like to be like a little fetus in the womb, just be like a little worm in an intestine or something like that. It gives me this feeling of fluidity and spaciousness and being unbound. Yeah, I'm very biologically inspired. But I did a commission for a friend and she was like, do whatever you want. And that's what I kind of needed at this time. I did some like animal commissions, some pet portraits, but for someone to be like, do whatever you want, it's like, ooh, what do I do? Because like even when I was going through art school and doing my thesis, I was I had the freedom to do what I want, but there was usually someone above me saying yes or no. Like, "Oh, that's a great idea that you came up with, but no, or this one's better." Like that's not true freedom of creation at the end of the day. So when I was like she was literally like, "Okay, I want a painting." So okay, I was restricted to material and size. But she just when it came to content, it could be whatever. So yeah, I was working with this kind of stuff. Some colored pencil stuff, working with color blending. This is something I call like a crap page or like a poop page where I just doodle something horrendous, like something that 16-year-old me would draw in class, which okay, I can't judge it too badly. Um but it's like a page that I would just cover up. I would just say this is like I wouldn't say it's a waste of a page, but I don't want to waste paper, so I'm probably just going to cover it up with something. But this book is done. I'm not going to go back into this. But let's say if I wanted to keep making during this time, I would just cover this page with something. This page. We have here a like a Severus inspired thing, but it's like three Rottweilers, but I had like the Zephyrus thing, like a three-headed monster Hydra thing going on. And I see like figures in the back, and I see this like pink, like red faced man. You know, like when a white person drinks alcohol, or like a white man gets like really hot and sweaty or drunk, he's like red. That's what I was thinking of, honestly, like because this is inspired by the club scene where I'm from, where it's just like I'm from the South and it just wasn't my favorite place to go out. And we'd go to a lot of like straight sports bars and just like the type of man that was there was not all of them, right? But a lot of interactions that I had with men there were with these like just really, really belligerently drunk guys who were borderline nasty and mean. And not all of them. There were some cases that like I had good interactions with straight men, but but they just were drunk and they just reminded me of like some sort of animal. And at this time, I was reading a lot about Greek. I was reading a lot about Greek mythology because, like I said, I'm really into Jungian psychology and myths and Greek gods and goddesses. Represent different archetypes and they're really important. They play a really key role in Western Jungian psychology, I think. So I was like, trying to blend like my experiences, express my experiences with the nightlife in where I'm from with these symbols, with these ideas, but not something that I really developed further. Going out is always like really interesting about studying people and human behavior, that kind of thing. Anyways, um, ooh, I love this. This page is like really inspired the commission that I eventually did, but I really love the glowiness of these like antlers or bones or veins or tree branches or whatever it is. I really like the glowy quality, and I think something like this I want to amplify. I would want to make something like this bigger and see. Okay, this is like a little tiny quadrant, like a little frame of something bigger, and I'm curious as to what that bigger place looks like. So, I'll have to come back to that one. And then I have a portrait of my friend Jinsey. This was one of our last nights together in the US before we both eventually moved to Spain because she also spent about a year in Spain, not in the same places where I live, but she was here sharing the experience with me. And I'm so grateful to have had her the last year, even though we weren't close, like we really could lean on each other for a lot of things and really relate to what we were going through. So it was really nice to have um, that support system. And I just want to say shout out to Jinsey. She is an amazing artist, an amazing friend. Maybe I'll put her like Instagram here if I figure out how to do that, and you can give her a follow. I am extremely grateful for her, and she's also just like so cute and precious and beautiful. So what we did before we left is we hung out, her, I, and like I don't even care if this grammar is correct. We hung out with like some friends and we were having like an art night. And I decided to paint her because she has this beautiful long golden hair and she has bangs that she rocks. And she just has these cute little features too. She's just so precious. So she was my inspiration. I'm going to skip these pages. They are not YouTube friendly, but they were I was feeling some type of way. I was feeling some type of way. Let's just say that I use my body as a reference and I was studying and I'm getting a lot looser while still um, honoring anatomical correctness or honoring measurements of that sort. But there was a focus on a certain body part, and that is something I just cannot talk about right now. So we're going to leave that out of this video. And also, going back to that night with friends, I drew my friend Julie. She's also beautiful. She has these stunning cat-like eyes and she does a lot of self-portraits as she should because she serves face. So I'm going to put her Instagram somewhere around here. But we were saying goodbye to her as well. And then I think this was just like a poop page, like a let's not waste paint kind of thing. I have this drawing of Jinsey. This was a different time we visited Julie's apartment, and Julie had adopted like a million cats for some reason. And we were hanging out with her, hanging out with the new cats. And sorry, girl. She only has like 3 or 4 or something like that. Jinsey was going through it, so she's laying here in pain, and the cat laid on her, and I just used her as a little reference, getting looser. And I love figure drawing. I really do. Just, I don't know why. I've always seen that as like so important to me as an artist. And I really believe if you can draw the figure, you can do anything. So, and now we're getting into the final stages of the sketchbook. I wrote something really unhinged on this page. At the airport, an older woman with pink glasses and a polka dot shirt was sitting across from me. She left to board her plane, and another woman with pink glasses, but this time with a stupid shirt, took her place. I don't know what I meant by a stupid shirt, and I really want to say sorry to this woman for saying her shirt was stupid because, like, I doubt it was stupid. That was just like, why did I have to say that? Sometimes I'm unhinged, sometimes I'm not. I just want to say sorry. I don't know why I wrote that. But I thought it was curious going back to what I said very much earlier. I love coincidences. I love synchronicities. I love these like really strange curiosities about the universe and reality. So it was interesting like the coincidence of like a woman with pink glasses. Like pink glasses aren't that common. And then for her seat to be replaced by another woman wearing pink glasses was just really cute. So I have some words here. Conspecific, coprophilic, no, I don't know. I should have been writing down Spanish words instead of these English words because I did not know enough Spanish when I got here. So I think this was my first plane ride, just like going to a different part of my state. Like I have someone in their seat. I was just doing some like cells, like very therapeutic, like coloring book type drawing, really purposely thoughtless. We have to jump back a little bit with this page because I had already gotten to the part where I was leaving America. But before I left America, I had some more experiences that I documented in my sketchbook. So this one is my mother's hands. This one I want to spend a few moments talking about because first I want to say this was highly inspired by my former professor Timothy Ford. He is an incredible artist. He's a master figure drawer, he's a master figure painter, and he's just a master artist in general. He's amazing. And he has a series of some charcoal portraits of his mother's hands, her face. You have to just see them. I can't even describe them. His style is just so soft. It's like breathing onto like it's like breathing on glass when there's like condensation, like and it makes like this fog and you wipe it away and it's just layered and airy and it's beautiful. I don't even know how to go into it. I decided to draw my mom's hands while I was sitting with her, waiting for her to get a procedure done that is common for adults over a certain age. And she needed to be accompanied by someone because after the procedure, she would be unsuitable to drive home. So, this really made me think about how, like, we're changing caretaking roles. Where, yes, my mother was my caretaker for my early years in life, but now I see myself having to take care of my mother more often, physically, and there's other stuff with that too. But this was a moment where I saw myself as a physical caretaker for my mother, and I drew her hands because my mom is getting old. Like it's just the truth. She is 64 and she has these old lady hands. Like, I don't know. I'm sorry. It's just the truth, y'all. And it makes me kind of sad. But yeah, thankfully she's healthy right now. So everything's all good. Then I have some Canadian geese. Love them. They're crazy. I don't really have much to say about them, but there's a lot in my area. Random guy from the waiting room came out really terribly. More drawings of hands. I think I drew Julie's face from memory based on the other drawing. Okay, I'm going through this really quickly now because there's not much left. This was all me just like passing time in the airport at this point, and my hands are covered in charcoal now. But I wrote here, I'm feeling so scared to board the plane. Oh my God, I'm going to talk about this a little bit. I was really not nervous at all about moving to Spain, but right before I boarded the final plane that went to Madrid, I had this thought where I was like, I everything was black in front of me. Everything was darkness, and I felt like I was stepping off the ledge of a stepping off a ledge, like stepping off the edge of a cliff into darkness, like I was blind and I was just taking a blind step forward and I didn't know if I was going to land on my feet. I didn't know what was going to happen. I cried a little bit, but I wasn't really panicking as much as I thought I would, to be honest. At this point, I feel like as I'm going through life, I just have this lantern in front of me. Like I can really only see what's right in front of me. And that's really terrifying. And I've been struggling with that. But it's just crazy how I really in that moment felt like I was taking this huge step forward, and if I took this step, there was no going back. And there has yet to be a going back. I just keep changing and developing. I haven't even gone back physically to the US, and it's been over a year now. So this journey is I'm just on my journey, just to put it simply. But I was quite scared for a moment there. And then I love this drawing. On a happy note, I love this drawing of this man. Let me talk about the materials. So this sketchbook has, like I said earlier, very soft, toothless, almost plasticky multimedia paper, pretty thick, pretty durable. And I was using a mechanical pencil with soft lead. I don't remember the sizing, but it was like a softer lead, which I love. I love me a soft lead mechanical pencil. And on this paper, you can blend, girl. I love it. So, yes, this man was looking at his phone. I could really get in there with the shading, with the darks, get some texture, and this was loose and fun, and I love how it turned out. So one of my more favorite figure drawings, and then I have the back of some people's heads while they're waiting for their plane. Um, this drawing here of the leaves and stuff on top of bricks. Like I was kind of practicing this overlaying effect. I've explored this idea. I like made a piece where I was kind of overlaying like bricks with um nature, like trees and leaves and things, but it's something that I want to explore with more, because I really, in this one I was trying to get like the, okay, where we have uncertain or undefined planes, fields of depth. But in the one piece I made, it was just like, okay, we're just stacking one on top of another. So I want to like explore this more, and I've documented this in various places, so it's something I'll come back to indefinitely. And then I have some more figures here. I think this is the almost the last page. I really love this woman. I love this woman in the corner. I think I really connected with her. I wonder if she was, what she was going through. I wonder what she was thinking at that time, why she was hunched over, hiding with her hair and so curled up, like if her stomach hurt, if she was scared, if she was, going to make a big change in her life as well. So I'm I need to think about that more the next time I go to an airport or a train station. Like, I want to think more and reflect more on what everyone's journey is. Like, where are they going next? So yeah, that was the end of my sketchbook. Yeah, I'm really happy that I finally have sat down and made this video, and I feel a lot less camera shy. I'm really excited to share more of my experiences with you guys, share more about materials and processes, life experiences, and things like that. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. I'm going to share this one quote that is on the very back of the sketchbook, and then I think I'll call it a quits for the day. But I have this quote here, from Sanam and Nami's husband. Sanam and Nami is a Iranian American ceramic artist, and she was one of the demonstrating artists at the Women Working with Clay symposium. I unfortunately didn't get to interact with her as much as I wanted to. I was also extremely shy at this time and scared of everything. But during her demonstration, not demonstration, she is an angel. During her demonstration, she just shared so much wisdom. It was like one after another. Like, she did not stop. Like, everything she said was a quote for real. Her husband said this: glazing is like painting in the dark. So this has nothing to do with anything I shared. This has nothing to do with anything. But I just really like this quote: glazing is like painting in the dark. If you're not a ceramic person, this quote has no significance to you. Thank you so much for watching this video, and please subscribe so that you can watch more of my videos in the future and follow me along in this journey. And yeah, I love you all, and I hope you have a very blessed, beautiful day. And yes, love you all. Bye.